Discover the miraculous protection of God, a transforming prayer for your sacred journey today. As the sun dipped below the rugged wilderness and its last rays painted the sky in hues of crimson and gold, the Israelites encamped at the foot of Mount Sinai felt the weight of their deliverance from Egypt heavy in the air. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, with the mountains as a backdrop, they had witnessed the miraculous hand of God liberate them from bondage. Yet now, uncertainty swirled amongst them like the desert winds, and doubt crept in as shadows stretched across the camp. Moses, chosen leader and prophet, ascended the steep and rocky slopes of Sinai, seeking the face of Yahweh. The atmosphere was sacred, trembling with anticipation. The very presence of God enveloped the mountain, and as Moses drew closer, he was enveloped in a cloud, called to receive divine instruction. There, atop the mountain, he was given the 10 Commandments engraved by the finger of God, a solemn covenant that bound the nation to their Creator. But even as Moses stood in this powerful communion, the pulse of panic quickened below. Hours turned into a day, and the people, gripped by fear and frustration, gathered in hushed but fervent debate. Without their leader, the vastness of the mountains seemed threatening, and a desperate longing for reassurance stirred their hearts. Out of the chaos of confusion came a horrific cry for a tangible God. In a moment of weakness, their resolve shattered, and they turned to Aaron, Moses' own brother. With trembling hearts, they compelled him to create an idol to lead them. The clang of metal met the heat of the fires, and before long, the golden calf stood. It shone brightly in the firelight, a false god born of desperation that called forth their worship. Their hearts, so quickly swayed, pierced the very covenant that Moses had received from the one true God. As they danced and celebrated around their creation, unbeknownst to them, the Lord's righteous anger ignited. The heavens whispered the news to Moses. God's voice trembled with wrath as he revealed the corruption of his people. But Moses, filled with compassion, became an intercessor. He poured out his soul before God, recalling the promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. "Turn from your fierce wrath," he implored, reminding Yahweh of his great mercy and steadfast love. His prayers surged upward, fragrant and earnest, before the throne of grace. God's heart wavered toward compassion. He relented from pouring out his fury upon the Israelites, yet he commanded Moses to guide them steadfastly to the promised land. His divine presence would accompany them. Safety was found not in idols but in obedience and closeness to him. As Moses descended the mountain, the golden calf still gleamed with seduction in the firelight, casting shadows over the faith of the people. Would they heed Moses' call to return to Yahweh? Would their hearts turn back to God amid the allure of idolatry? The promise of miraculous protection remained for those who sought his face in faith, but an urgent journey lay ahead. Uncertainty wrapped around the camp as tightly as the night air. What path would they choose? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful stories from Scripture. Hit the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed by how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As Moses drew closer to the camp, the sounds of revelry still echoed. The question of faith versus fear loomed larger than ever. Would the Israelites recognize the depth of their folly? The fiery corruption they embraced flickered ominously against the backdrop of God's glorious plan. The stakes were high, for their sacred journey demanded a firm commitment to turn away from idols and trust again in the living God. Would they find their way back, that the covenant designed for them might blossom yet again under divine grace? As Moses descended the mountain, his heart heavy with both dread and hope, the sight before him pierced his soul. The camp was alive with a wild celebration, each note of their revelry echoing the deep fracture of faith that had taken root among his people. The golden calf stood prominently at the center, its surface gleaming like a beacon of rebellion against the Almighty. Moses approached, urgency driving his steps. The vibrant laughter that had once filled these lands was now transformed into a cacophony of idolatrous praise that weighed upon his spirit. He could hear the voices of the people triumphantly shouting, exalting a lifeless image that could not save them. "I have seen your ways," Moses cried out, his voice rising above the din, "and behold, they are corrupted. You have turned away from the living God who has delivered you from Egypt." His heart quaked with anguish as he witnessed their idolatry with his own eyes. The air was thickened with sin, and a deep wound had been inflicted upon the covenant relationship birthed through God's mercy. The Israelites turned towards him, their expressions shifting from joy to fear, and then to confusion. Moses, filled with the weight of the commandments in his hands, cast the tablets down in his fury. They shattered at the foot of the mountain like the very covenant they had chosen to forsake. The sound echoed in the valley, a harbinger of the spiritual destruction that had ensnared their hearts. "Who is on the Lord's side?" Moses demanded, his voice steady amidst the turmoil. He summoned the Levites, calling forth those steadfast in their devotion. "Let him come to me." The sons of Levi responded, drawing near as the tremors of the moment stirred their hearts. Their allegiance ignited, and in an act of righteousness, they took up their swords, ready to purge the evil that had encompassed their brethren. As judgment fell, there was both sorrow and severity. The cries of those who had been ensnared by the golden calf rang out, some in anguish, others in disbelief. 3,000 souls were laid low that day, a grim reminder of the consequences of turning away from the true God. Yet even in this darkness, the mercy of the Lord lingered, for Moses interceded again on behalf of the people, pleading fervently for their forgiveness. "Alas," he cried, "this people has sinned a great sin. But if you will forgive their sin, forgive them, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written." God's response was grave. He would not permit the unrepentant to stand, but he indicated that he would still lead them despite their rebellion. Moses returned to the mountain, where he would not only plead for the people's forgiveness but also seek fresh instructions from the Almighty. The Lord called out to him, declaring, "I will make a covenant anew and my presence shall go with you." A renewed sense of purpose filled Moses as he prepared for a second meeting with Yahweh. As he ascended once more, anticipation swelled within him, aware that God's grace could restore what was broken. What would the Lord reveal this time in the midst of their failure? He stood at the threshold of the divine presence, ready to receive further instruction on how the people were to live as a holy nation. The path ahead remained steep, but the promise of God's presence was unwavering. How would they respond to this second chance? And as he pondered these things, a deep secret waited to be unveiled. What more did God have in store for his chosen people as they continued this journey through the wilderness, reclaiming their identity as his? Moses stood in the sacred silence of the mountain, his heart trembling in reverence, knowing he was in the presence of the Most High. The Lord's voice cut through the enveloping darkness like a beacon of light. "Come near, Moses, and I will show you my ways. Gather the people that they may hear and understand the depths of my covenant." With a spirit renewed in faith, Moses returned to the foot of the mountain, his expression resolute. The Israelites, already aware of their grievous error, awaited his words with bated breath. The heavy cloak of their idolatry could not be easily shed, their hearts were laden with the weight of sin and conviction. "Listen, O people of Israel," Moses proclaimed, his voice firm yet filled with compassion. "The Lord your God has spoken." As he recounted the events both of their unfaithfulness and the enduring mercy of the Lord, he could see hope flickering once again in the weary souls of his brethren. He desires to dwell among us still. A new covenant shall be made, and he will write his laws on our hearts. The crowd regarded him with awe, for they knew the depth of their own failings. In their hearts, they dared to believe that perhaps they were not beyond redemption. As Moses relayed God's promise of compassion and guidance, their spirits began to lift, and repentance flowed forth as streams breaking from a dam. Then, as if to confirm his covenant anew, the Lord's presence descended upon the mountain in a thick cloud, enveloping it in glory. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, the earth shook in response to the Almighty's voice. "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage," he declared, as Moses bowed low, trembling in the sanctity of God's holiness. "Take heed to these commandments," the Lord continued, "and you shall be a holy nation, a people set apart for my praise." With each word, Moses witnessed the transformative power of divine instruction, realizing that the heart of the people was beginning to respond, though slowly. And he spoke of the laws to guide their lives, not as restrictions but as a divine latticework of love, meant to shape them as his children. The essence of the law unveiled their need for righteousness and the path to reconciliation with the Creator. As the commandments rang out, echoing through the valley and reverberating within every heart, Moses understood that this was God's sovereign plan unfolding, a call to purity, a beckoning towards holiness, a promise of grace upon grace even in their frailty. "Now, Lord," Moses interjected, filled with longing, "show me your glory." And God replied, "I will cause all my goodness to pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious and will have compassion on whom I will have compassion." Moses stood on the edge of a divine revelation, the weight of God's intentions bearing down upon him. What might be revealed to him in the presence of such infinite grace? The air seemed charged with expectation, for God's goodness was about to manifest in ways yet unseen. As Moses awaited the unfolding of God's splendor, a profound understanding stirred within him. God's ultimate guidance would not only rescue them from their past but would chart a course toward a future rich with purpose and destiny. With bated breath, the mountain trembled at the brink of the extraordinary, as the very fabric of creation anticipated the unveiling of a promise. What profound revelation might the Lord declare as he fulfilled his covenant anew? As Moses stood enraptured by the divine presence, the cloud of glory thickened, and a stillness overcame the mountain. The voice of the Lord resonated within the depths of Moses' being, reverberating through the very core of his spirit. "Prepare yourself, for I shall reveal my name, for my name is a strong tower, the righteous run into it and are safe." In that moment of hushed expectancy, the Lord proclaimed, "Yahweh, the Lord, merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness." His words poured forth like living water, refreshing the thirsty souls of those who listened, intertwining both judgment and grace in a singular truth. Wavering hearts among the Israelites began to find courage as they recalled the mercies of God in their midst. They had witnessed the miracles in Egypt, yet their own wavering faith had almost led them to destruction. But now, as Moses stood in the sacred glow, hope blossomed anew like spring flowers in the desert. Moses, emboldened by God's assurances, interceded, "O Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, let your presence go with us. For how shall we be distinct from every other nation on the earth, if not by your presence?" With that, the Lord responded, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." The profound weight of God's promise enveloped Moses. It was not merely the assurance of safety, but the profound intimacy of his abiding fellowship. Moses could hardly contain his gratitude as the realization settled upon him. The living God desired to dwell among this wayward people, yet, as he lingered longer in the presence of the Holy One, something stirred within him, a cry for revelation that reached beyond himself. He began to see that God's greatness was boundless, and he uttered in awe, "Show me your glory." His request unfurled like the wings of an eager dove, yearning to soar high above the horizons of human understanding. The Lord replied, "You cannot see my face, for man shall not see me and live. Behold, there is a place by me, you shall stand on the rock. And while my glory passes by, I will cover you with my hand until I have passed, and then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen." This promise of closeness amidst the veil of divine majesty illuminated the heart of Moses with a radiant understanding. Even in God's hiddenness, his presence was profound. As the mountain trembled anew under the weight of the divine glory, Moses stepped forward to the rock, positioned for the unprecedented encounter. The thrumming heartbeat of creation sang along with the anticipation of what was to come. What might be unveiled when the veils of holiness were pulled aside for but a breath of time, with the Lord's glory poised to break forth, Moses felt every fiber of his being alive with divine expectation. The promise whispered of new beginnings for the Israelites, a remnant renewed in faith who would carry forth the light of God's covenant. In the stillness that followed, creation held its breath as the moment approached, and within the ever-unfolding mystery, it beckoned. What greater revelation might God share that would alter the course of his people forever? Would their hearts remain open to the fullness of his divine purpose? How would this sacred encounter transform their journey into one of unfathomable grace? As the Lord's glory began to pass before him, Moses stood in reverent awe upon the rock, the air shivering with divine presence. The deep voice of God poured forth in tones that echoed through the mountaintops, proclaiming proclamations of enduring mercy and unwavering faithfulness. Yahweh. The Lord, Yahweh. The words rolled thunderously from the heavens, enveloping Moses and the people below in a shroud of holy light. "I am the Lord, who promises to guide you, to redeem you from the hand of your adversaries, and I will lead you to a land flowing with milk and honey." Moses shielded his eyes, overwhelmed by the brilliance but determined to grasp tightly the wonder unfolding before him. It was as though the very essence of God was spilling forth, a river of grace cascading through the crevices of both his heart and the history of the Israelites. "Remember my covenant, O people." His voice throbbed with the weight of eternity. "For I have not forgotten the promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My intention is to bless the nations through you, my chosen vessel." As divine words flowed like a mighty tide, the heart of Moses quickened with understanding. It was not merely an abstraction of glory he witnessed, but the purpose woven through the fabric of their existence, God's unyielding resolve to shape a people that would reflect his light to the nations. In that moment, Moses' perspective transformed. He no longer saw merely the grandeur of divine authority but the tender touch of fatherly love reaching out to redeem the lost, a paternal embrace seeking to heal a people torn by oppression. He felt the yearning of the Almighty, the desire for closeness, and warmth that ignites hope amidst despair. "Lord," he responded, his voice trembling with the weight of the moment, "if your presence does not go with us, do not bring us up from here." His soul cried out, acknowledging not only the need but the hunger for God's leading in the desolate wilderness. As the divine glory waned, the promise lingered, imparting a sense of urgency. The people were poised on the brink of revelation, and yet still lagging behind in their understanding. Would they, too, embrace the path marked by his presence? Then, the Lord said, "You shall write these words, for in them lies the heart of the covenant." Moses felt the Lord's hand guiding him. "I shall make with you a legacy that shall transcend the ages. Teach them my commandments, and they shall know that I am with them." The vision unfolded before Moses, an entire people, ignited with faith, carrying the flame of divine love, lighting the way for others in darkness. The very mountains seemed to listen, reverberating with the sacred promise. Moses trembled, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the call extended to him and the Israelites. This was not merely a moment of majestic encounter, it was the preparation for a journey that would echo through the annals of time, establishing a dialogue between the Creator and his creation. The eternal whispers of the Almighty surged through the air, promising transformation. "Fear not, for I shall be your guide," affirmed the Lord. "In this journey, your hearts will encounter trials, but it is through suffering that the depth of my love will be revealed." Moses' heart raced with the weight of the mission, yet also with comfort in God's assurance, for indeed many would be their challenges, but even more would be the triumphs to come. Each step forward would be a testimony of divine faithfulness, a legacy woven in the journey, a reminder that with commitment and courage, nothing is impossible. As Moses turned with burning purpose to descend the mountain, he sensed the gravity of what lay ahead, aware that the revelation was not merely for him alone but for all generations. The hearts of the Israelites echoed a longing for understanding, and with every heartbeat, God's sovereign plan whispered in his ear. With a prayer on his lips, he stepped down into the valley, filled with expectation for what was to unfold. The path was set, the promise echoed through the land. He knew that soon a profound truth would be revealed, the very essence of what it meant to dwell in the presence of the Lord. Yet as the dust stirred in the wake of his movement, a question lingered in the heavens, awaiting a response. Would they rise to meet their calling and embrace the fullness of his divine purpose in the shadow of his glory? The unfolding story beckoned, a sacred journey just beginning. Descending from the heights of Sinai, Moses' heart pulsed with divine purpose as he approached the camp of the Israelites, the weight of the Lord's words ringing in his ears. The camp lay restless beneath the harsh day, a congregation of souls amid a parched land, anxiously awaiting news from the mountaintop. He could feel their collective breath held in anticipation, yearning for direction and assurance. As Moses came closer, he saw the people gathering, their faces shadowed with both expectation and growing anxiety. The murmurs of uncertainty rippled through the crowd, each voice resonant with the fears of wandering in the wilderness without the guiding presence of the one who had promised to lead them. "Behold, Israel," Moses called out, lifting his voice above the din, "I have met with the Lord, and he has spoken." His words carried an authority that commanded their attention, silencing the restless crowd. From the multitude, faces emerged, eyes wide with desperation, seeking hope. He recalled the essence of the covenant, the command to remember. "The Lord of hosts has made a promise to us," he declared. "He shall be with us, he shall guide our steps." With each word, the doubts began to wane, replaced with a flicker of faith igniting within their hearts. Moses raised his hands as though to draw down the very glory he had just encountered, a testament to the faithfulness of God. He has given us commandments, divine instructions that will lead us to his abundant blessing. Follow them, and you shall know his presence is with you. Then, as if in response to his declaration, the air trembled with a holy silence, the heaviness of the divine promise weaving its way into the hearts of the people. They felt an unmistakable sense of readiness fill their spirits. Hope restored, the Israelites began to murmur amongst themselves, voices blending into a symphony of faith rising before the Lord. Who among you would rise and agree to follow the ways of Yahweh? Moses called once more, challenging them to take a step toward the covenant laid out before them. A young man, name known to Moshe yet his heart untested, stepped forward, a spark of bravery lighting his countenance. I shall follow the Lord's instructions, O Moses. We shall walk in his paths and trust in his guidance. His fervor met with a ripple of agreement through the assembly. Other voices soon joined him. Yes, we will walk in his ways. Yes, we will trust in his guidance. The collective sound filled the valley, a chorus of faith that echoed like thunder over the plain. Moses felt reassured as confirmation of obedience blossomed in hearts around him. Yet beneath the surface of this moment, Moses sensed a deeper stirring within him, a troubling awareness that the journey ahead would not come without challenges. That in the midst of robust faith stood the shadows of hesitation, for the wilderness ahead would test resolve, shake their unity, and draw out deeper character. Remember his promise in the trials you face, he is with us still, Moses cautioned gently, sensing the weight lurking behind this communal embrace of faith. As the gathering dispersed, each individual moved with new determination. Moses remained, his soul in communion with the Lord, reflecting on what was to come. The path laid before them was shrouded in both promise and uncertainty, and Moses understood that even within the light of God's assurance, the time for testing was yet to arrive. Then a sudden whisper caught his ear amidst the breeze, a lingering question that floated close to his heart. What shall be the response of Israel when faced with the fires of trial? Will they hold fast to the truth of the covenant, or shall doubt take root in their hearts? In this moment of reflection, the profound truth began to emerge. God's sovereign plan stretched far beyond the present, intertwining with every soul's journey, leading each step through the wilderness toward a greater revelation yet to unfold. Thus, Moses knelt in the dust before his people, a humble servant poised before the Almighty, ready to embrace the unfolding mystery of God's purpose. And with a prayer on his lips and hope flickering in his heart, he awaited the answer to that question, one that revealed the depths of God's unwavering love and the strength found in the covenantal embrace, for the journey was just beginning, and the next revelation loomed on the horizon, the mystery of God's enduring presence amid trial and triumph. Would Israel stand firm, remaining steadfast in their calling, and illuminate even the darkest paths, revealing the true essence of what it means to be God's chosen people? And as Moses pondered the weight of his calling, the Lord spoke to him once more, a voice both gentle and thunderous echoing in his spirit. Go forth, Moses, and remind my people of the covenant. For I, the Lord their God, shall be their refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. They shall not fear, though the earth be removed and the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Psalm 46 verses 1-2. Seizing the moment, Moses summoned the elders of Israel, gathering them before him beneath the expanse of the sky. Brothers and sisters, he began, his voice rich with urgency, the Lord has declared his faithfulness. In him lies our preservation. As we roam this wilderness, there will be trials that seek to sunder our hearts from his promises. Therefore, I command you to be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you. Deuteronomy 31 verse 6. In this moment of solemnity, the elders rested their hands upon the shoulders of one another, their faces illuminated with resolve. A feeling of unity blossomed amongst them, echoing the spirit of their forefathers who walked in faith. Breathing life into the words Moses imparted, they pledged their fidelity to the Almighty. When they look at the danger ahead, their courage would not falter, for they were bound together by a common destiny, yet within the hearts of some remained the tendrils of doubt, a fear of what lay ahead. What if we encounter the giants in the land? A voice from the crowd cried out. What if the wells run dry, and our provisions dwindle? Moses raised his staff, and a hush fell over them. Look not with your earthly eyes, but with eyes of faith. For our God has promised, I will make a pathway through the wilderness, I will create rivers in the dry wasteland. Isaiah 43 verse 19, trust in his mighty hand, foolish though your concerns may seem. For where we find ourselves weak, there he shall be strong. His voice rang with the authority of the Lord, and as his words took root, the people began to transform, their spirits soaring as if on the wings of eagles. In trust, we shall march, they proclaimed, their voices intertwining like the threads of a tapestry, for our God has not forsaken us. Then the Lord instructed Moses to prepare the people, proclaiming a sacred assembly for worship. They are to sacrifice to me, to honor my name and to remember the great deeds I have performed. For in their offering lies the remembrance of my faithfulness, and in their worship, they shall find strength for the journey ahead, God commanded. Thus, the Israelites gathered their offerings, lambs and grain, an outpouring of adoration and gratitude. With hearts ablaze, they approached the altar. The aroma of their sacrifices rose like incenses of sweet worship unto the Lord, filling the air with the promise of communion. And as they lifted their voices in song, a mighty wind blew through the camp, as if the presence of the Lord enveloped them. Moses, witnessing this divine transformation, understood his people were being prepared not only to survive the challenges of the wilderness but to thrive within the covenant. And therein lay the mystery that began to unfurl before him, the assurance that God was establishing a holy nation, set apart by his glory. Yet, with every wave of exhilaration came the haunting whisper of the question revealed to him before: would they withstand unshakable challenges, or would their hearts stray in moments of testing? He thus bowed before the altar, his heart heavy with the weight of leadership. O Lord, he cried aloud, reveal thy purpose, for I am but a servant. Steady our hearts, secure our vision, and lead us through the coming trials. Ensure that Israel remembers not only the blessings but the weight of their calling. And in this sacred moment of prayer, the ground beneath Moses quaked ever so slightly, a sign both of reverence and of awe, as the Lord prepared his people for deliverance through sanctification, beckoning forth a formidable future. The horizon held mysteries yet revealed, and with every step they took, they would draw closer to understanding the full extent of God's sovereign plan for them, destined not just to be liberated, but to become a beacon of hope for all nations. And it came to pass that as the assembly gathered to offer their prayers, Moses turned his gaze to the heavens, and the Lord spoke again with a voice like thunder, resonating through the very hearts of the people. I have heard your cries and seen your afflictions, and I will act. I will bring you out of the land of bondage, and even greater shall be the day when you dwell in the land I swore to your fathers. Exodus 3 verses 7 to 8. The air vibrated with divine promise, and a holy hush fell upon the congregation. The elders surrounded Moses, their countenances radiant with anticipation and trepidation alike. Moses, they whispered, what shall we do? How shall we prepare for the trials ahead? With his heart emboldened by the Spirit, Moses raised his hands in supplication. Fear not, for the Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Exodus 14 verse 14, his assurance echoed among them, igniting a flame of courage that no darkness could extinguish. Then, the Lord commanded, tell the people to sanctify themselves, for tomorrow, I will do wonders among you. Joshua 3 verse 5, the Israelites understood this call to holiness was accompanied by a need for purification, both in body and spirit, as they prepared to see the miraculous work of God. They fasted and prayed, casting aside all that would hinder their communion with the Almighty. On the morrow, the sun rose like a blazing fire over the desert, illuminating the encampment where the people gathered. With great expectancy, they approached the tabernacle, bringing forth their prayers as fragrant incense. Through the drumming of their hearts and the lifting of their voices, they proclaimed, the Lord is our shepherd, we shall not want. Psalm 23 verse 1, and as they worshipped, behold, purest light coursed through the thick cloud that covered the tent of meeting, stirring a rumble of heavenly might that made even the stoutest hearts tremble. Moses, standing at the entrance, felt the profound weight of God's presence, and the fear of the Lord dawned upon the assembly. Let the people gather near, Moses declared. The Lord is about to reveal his great power. In awe, they approached, hearts united in faith. The pillars of cloud and fire moved before them, leading the way into the unknown. For the Lord your God is he who goes with you, to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. Deuteronomy 20 verse 4, suddenly, the ground trembled and the very heavens seemed to part. Gazing upward, Moses beheld a vision, towering clouds swirling like a tempest, yet within it was a radiance brighter than the sun. "O Israel," he cried, "do not remain in fear. This is the Lord's hand guiding us into our promise." With hearts renewed, the people began to march, emboldened for the journey ahead. Each step felt like an echo of the words from the scrolls, that they may know that I am the Lord their God, who brings them out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. Exodus 6 verse 7. But lurking beneath the surface of their faith was a question: would their trust hold firm when faced with the immense obstacles yet to come? As night fell and the stars twinkled brightly above, the uncertainties of their path loomed large. In a moment of solitude, Moses pondered the divine mystery before him, a weighty truth draped in glory and peril intertwined. "O Lord," he prayed, "let our hearts remain steadfast and our eyes fixed on you. Unveil your purpose in us, for we have yet to see the full consummation of your sovereign plan." And so it was, as the leaders watched the gathering clouds, a holy tension settled over them. God was starting a work that would echo through generations, a work that would challenge their convictions and reveal the depths of his covenant faithfulness. The journey had begun, but the culmination of his plan remained cloaked in divine mystery, waiting to be unveiled in the fullness of time. And it came to pass that as the sun dipped below the horizon, the people sat encamped around Moses, their eyes filled with uncertainty yet tempered by faith. Each heart beat in rhythm with the promise of God, yet the shadows of doubt crept into their minds. The Lord, knowing their fears, spoke to Moses from within the cloud, saying, "Behold, I will send an angel before you to guide you in your way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared." Exodus 23 verse 20. The people stirred in awe, for they had witnessed the hand of God upon their lives. "We are but dust," they whispered, "yet the Almighty is here with us." And with renewed vigor, they gathered their provisions, ready to follow where the Lord would lead. "Sanctify yourselves again," Moses instructed, "for today the Lord shall show us his glory among the nations." The elders obeyed, and the women and children cleansed their garments, wearing their hearts on their sleeves, tender before the Lord. And they raised their voice in unison, "Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised." Psalm 145 verse 3. As the day drew on, excitement mounted like a wave. The pillar of cloud descended, settling among them, vibrant and alive. It was in that sacred moment that the Lord commanded Moses, "Let the people draw near, for I will manifest my power." With trembling hands, Moses approached the cloud, feeling the palpable presence of the Lord. "Who among you is strong?" he called to them. "Who shall stand and witness the wonders of our God?" The men clutched their staffs, the women held their children tightly, and with lifted heads, they gathered before the divine manifestation. Then the Lord spoke once more, his voice rolling like thunder, "I have laid before you a path of both trials and triumphs." With each word, a weight was added to the hearts of the listeners. "Fear not the trials that await you, for in your weakness, my strength shall be magnified." 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9. Moses' heart raced. He knelt before the Lord, interceding for his people. "Grant us courage, O Lord. Let us not forget your mercies which are new every morning." And as he prayed, the people began to join him, lifting their voices in a symphony of supplication, singing praises with all their might. It was a moment of divine union, where heaven kissed earth, and the fear of the Lord enveloped them in a cloak of righteousness. Then came a great wind that rushed through the assembly, a sound like the roar of many waters. As Moses rose, the Lord revealed a striking vision, the deep waves of the sea before them, yet a pathway emerged amidst the chaos, leading toward freedom. "This day, I shall split the seas before you," the Lord declared, "and you shall walk across dry land into your destiny." Exodus 14 verse 16. The people gasped, a wave of exhilaration sweeping through, hearts now aflame with hope. "Moses, surely the Lord our God shall save us," they exclaimed. Yet within their hearts resided the whisper of apprehension. How could they trust in his promises when obstacles loomed so vast? As they stood upon the brink of the miraculous, Moses turned to the leaders, speaking with urgency. "Behold, the Lord is at work before us. Let us remember his covenant and the great things he hath done." And as twilight deepened its hues, an unspoken question lingered in the air, challenging their trust. What would unfold as they stepped into the uncertain waters of tomorrow? The very horizon beckoned them, woven with suspense, holding the keys to their destiny yet wrapped in the mysteries of God's sovereign plan. As dawn broke over the wilderness, the golden rays of the sun stretched across the horizon, illuminating the camp of the Israelites, their hearts still pulsing with the echoes of Moses' declaration. The weight of the Lord's promise hung in the air, a promise of deliverance and guidance. Yet, as they gathered for the day ahead, unease simmered beneath the surface, doubt clouded their anticipation, whispering fears of the unknown journey still to come. Moses, sensing the disquiet among the people, called for the elders. "Come forth," he urged, his voice steady yet laced with urgency. "Today, we remember the great works of our God. Not only has He delivered us from bondage, but He also walks with us into the future." As the leaders assembled around him, each one bearing the weight of responsibility for their families, Moses reminded them, "The Lord has told us to be strong and courageous. He has not brought us to this place to forsake us." His words ignited flickers of hope, igniting the spirits of the weary. The Israelites listened intently as Moses recounted each miracle, the plagues that freed them, the parting of the Red Sea, the bread from heaven. "But we must remember to trust and submit in the trials that will test our faith," he cautioned. Just then, a sudden stir rippled through the camp as they noticed the clouds gathering in the sky, dark and formidable. Confusion mixed with fear began to creep in again. "Moses, what will become of us?" some cried, their voices filled with trepidation. "Fear not, for the Lord goes before us, a guiding light in darkness," he assured them, raising his staff as a symbol of divine authority. As Moses spoke, the pillar of cloud, the Lord's presence, enveloped the camp, shimmering with a power that demanded reverence. "Draw near, let us prepare to follow His ways." In an act of obedience, they humbled themselves before the Lord, acknowledging their fears and uncertainties. With each offering they lifted grain, lamb, and the fruits of their labor. The aroma became a fragrant reminder of their commitment to worship. The air thickened with the presence of the Almighty as prayers ascended, touching the heavens. Then, amidst the fervency of worship, the Lord's presence shifted, a deep stillness settled over the crowd. "I am with you," the voice of the Lord resonated like thunder, breaking through the quiet, a promise to lead them through the trials that lay ahead. "Sanctify yourselves, for hereafter, I will show you wondrous works." Moses' heart swelled with a mixture of awe and anticipation. He called to the people, "Lift your eyes to the heavens. For from the depths of despair, the Lord shall draw forth a path of redemption, a journey of purpose for this very generation. We will follow you, Moses." They assured him, a chorus of renewed resolve lifting from the assembly. Yet beneath their declarations lingered an undercurrent of fear, mingling with the promise of hope. What trials awaited them? Would their faith withstand the storms to come? As they moved forward, the Lord commanded Moses to lead the people toward the encroaching clouds, the very place they had feared. In obedience, Moses stepped forward, driven by the conviction of God's promise. The people followed, their hearts beating in unison. Just then, the heavens opened, and the rain began to fall, yet the cloud remained as a protective canopy above them, a display of God's mercy amid chaos. "It is the Lord's hand, guiding us," Moses exclaimed amidst the downpour. "He shall make a way where there seems to be no way." The ground trembled beneath them, but their faith held firm. The Israelites pressed onward, carrying the weight of their forefathers' faith into the darkness before them. They heard a distant rumble, and anxiety sparked among the ranks. "What if we are overwhelmed?" someone shouted. Moses raised his arms in defiance of fear. "Be still. The Lord will fight for us." His proclamation reverberated through the valley, igniting courage anew within them. As they traversed the path, surrounded by the tumultuous storms, Moses often paused, seeking the Lord's guidance. And in those moments of divine connection, he whispered, "O Lord, reveal your greater purpose amid our trials. Though we walk through the valley of shadows, let us feel your steadfast love." Days turned into nights, with murmurs of doubt casting shadows on the hearts of some. Hunger gnawed at their faith, yet the Lord provided. They quarreled among themselves, and the edges of fellowship frayed. "Why have you led us here to die?" The people lamented, with every word of complaint. The cries pierced Moses' heart. He fell to his knees before the Lord, pleading for understanding. "What shall I do among this stubborn people?" God responded with compassion, "I shall provide for them, yet they must remember the covenant. Let them know that I am the Lord their God." And so, amidst the trials, manna descended from the heavens, a daily reminder that sustenance comes from the hand of God alone. The Israelites gathered tentatively at dawn, their eyes wide with awe as they collected the bread of heaven, uncertain but hopeful. Still, doubt lingered, a branch of suspicion that the journey ahead might not lead to the promised land. Curiosity filled the air, as their longing for reassurance clashed with their fears of inadequacy. "Moses, what of the giants in the land?" came the repeated query. "How shall we possess such a land?" Moses, filled with the wisdom imparted by God, turned to them with a glimmer of steadfast faith. "Remember the works of his hand. Fear not the giants, for they are but shadows before our God." As they prepared to move forward once more, a deeper truth formed, a truth tying their hearts to the promise of fulfilled covenant and divine protection. Yet the journey was poised on a precipice. Would they trust fully, leaning not on understanding but on faith in the eternal depths of God's purpose? Thus it was, as they pressed forth into the desert, the promise echoed in the hearts of this wandering nation, a mystery unfolding towards sovereign grace, for the Lord was crafting a legacy that would resonate across generations. What would be the test of their faith, and how would they come to know the fullness of God's plan in their wilderness journey?